Welcome to Short Movie Channel. Our movie today starts with Kia, who is getting ready and packing her bag to travel to the town of Jiran in the United States, also known as the Ghost Village. We learn that she has some work to do there. She arrives and rents a house called Elton House, which resembles a hotel but is very luxurious. When she enters the house and looks around, she smiles at how beautiful it is. She calls her friend Sarah, and they talk over video call for over an hour. Kia tells Sarah about her new job and the interviews she has to attend, explaining that she has only 2 days to conduct a project study. Sarah asks Kia to show her the house, so Kia starts to give her a tour with the camera to show Sarah everything. During the tour, Sarah jokingly warns Kia about ghosts because of the village's name, but Kia reassures her that she's not afraid of such things. Suddenly, while Sarah is on the line, she notices the door to the house's library move on its own. She tells Kia about it, but Kia doesn't believe her and thinks she's just trying to scare her, as usual. Kia ends the call with Sarah and tells her they'll continue the tour tomorrow. Afterward, she looks for something to eat and finds plenty of food. While standing, she hears a strange sound and goes to check. She finds that the door to the library is open. She feels uneasy but decides not to go down to the area below the house. She closes the door and goes back. She changes her clothes and takes a shower. While washing her face in front of the mirror, she feels something strange behind her but doesn't find anything. The lights start flickering, but she ignores it and goes to bed, reading her book until she falls asleep. The next morning, she goes to meet Mr. Paul as planned. She arrives at his restaurant, and on her way to the restroom, she bumps into a handsome young man. She apologizes and goes into the restroom, but when she comes out, she discovers that Mr. Paul is the same handsome young man she bumped into. He takes her to see the plot of land where the project will take place. Kia is very impressed by the place and asks why the area is called the Hidden Ghost Village. He tells her several stories about ghosts appearing in different places around the village, and he shares the story of the hotel at the village's entrance. He explains that a woman found her husband cheating on her, so she killed the woman he was having an affair with, and since then, the woman has been haunting the hotel and killing anyone who enters. Kia is a bit scared but tells Paul that she is staying at Elton House. Paul seems startled when he hears the name of the house, but he reassures her that there are no scary stories about it. When Kia starts to feel pain in her feet from her high heels, she decides to head back and continue the work the next day. On the way back, Paul tells her that the next time they meet, he'll invite her to dinner and drinks so they can get to know each other better. However, Kia makes it clear that she's only there for work, as she wants to prove herself in her first project. When she returns to the house, she notices that the plant she had left wilted is now surprisingly fresh. She finds a written note on the table next to something strange that looks like a magical lens. When she looks through it, she sees the face of a strange woman. Kia gets scared and drops the lens. At that time, Mr. Elton, the owner of the company that had sent her for the hotel project to be built in the village, called her. He informed her that she would have to stay another day because she would need to resurvey the land. The manager also told her that she had to gather all the scary stories about this village because these stories would be a strong entry point to entice many buyers to decide to experience living in the village. She agreed and informed them that she wouldn't return until she had a large collection of stories, along with all the project details. The next day, she went and wandered around the city, taking pictures of everything and asking the people if there were any scary stories about the city. She met one person and stopped to talk to him. When she asked him, he told her that the theater in front of them had witnessed the worst murder imaginable, where a man strangled his wife inside, and to this day, it's still closed because of that incident. Kia decided to muster up her courage and go to the place next to the theater. As soon as she entered, the place was eerily empty, with no one around. But suddenly, and without any warning, an old woman appeared in front of her, grabbed her hand, and kept telling her, "Walk, Kia, because Judy wants you." Kia started walking, feeling shocked and confused, wondering how the old woman knew her name. However, the old woman said nothing except, "Walk, because Judy says so." Suddenly, the woman disappeared. This made Kia feel very uneasy, so she ran out of the place and returned home. As soon as she entered and locked the door, it locked by itself with the key, but she didn't notice. Then, Sarah called her via video, and they talked. Kia shared everything that had happened, telling Sarah that she wasn't sure if it was real or just her imagination. Since Sarah believes in ghosts and spirits, she kept telling her that she needed to leave right away. However, Kia insisted on staying and continuing her work, telling Sarah she would stay with her until she was done. But Sarah noticed that Kia had taken over 15 minutes to climb the stairs, even though the house only had one floor. She asked how that was possible, which startled Kia, who was also confused. She quickly ended the call with Sarah and went to her room to try to sleep. But during her sleep, she had a nightmare. She went down to the office room, opened the library door, and there she found many people wearing red hoods over their faces, chanting strange incantations around a specific person. When she went closer to see this person, she found it was a young girl, no older than 16. The girl looked at Kia with a face covered in blood and said loudly, "You have to leave, Judy told you so." Kia woke up terrified, not knowing what to do. She quickly dressed, left, and went to Paul. When she told him everything that had happened, he tried to calm her down and took her to a spot near the sea. He told her that this place, in the village of Juran, was full of witches and sorcery and that there were many secrets. He also said that she only had one day left before leaving. He tried to comfort her as best as he could, and they continued talking, and over time, Paul started to develop feelings for Kia, trying to get closer to her. But when she noticed this, she distanced herself and asked him to take her home. When they arrived, he asked her if she would be able to stay alone in the house after everything that had happened. She told him that she was strong enough not to be afraid of anything. She entered the house by herself, determined to spend the last night there. But as soon as she entered, changed, and went to her bed, she looked beside her to grab the book she always read. At that moment, she suddenly remembered the scary woman. When she got startled, she threw the book away, and then she heard a sound coming from downstairs. She hurriedly ran down to the office room but found the bookshelf closet door closed, even though the sound was still coming from inside. She grabbed a vase, running around in panic, not knowing what to do. Then she went to the door to see what was happening, and when she opened it, she found Paul standing in front of her. She screamed at him for scaring her, but he said he was afraid to leave her alone, so he decided to come and stay with her. She refused, and he told her he liked her and wanted to start a relationship. Kia was shocked and firmly told him that this was not possible, and that she was only there to do her job. After she walked, she went and talked to her friend Sarah, telling her everything that happened. Sarah kept insisting that she call and apologize to him for what she said, saying that he might be a good person, but Kia told her that she wouldn't apologize the next day while they were having breakfast before she traveled. Then Kia hangs up because she wants to go to sleep. As soon as she gets into bed and looks at the mirror again, she's really scared of its appearance. But she turns off the light and tries to sleep. Suddenly, all the lights in the house turn off by themselves. She gets scared and hears a strange sound getting closer to her. She jumps up and runs quickly to leave the room. She enters another room, but the door shuts and won't open. However, she notices something on the bed, looks at the sheet, and sees herself sleeping with someone she doesn't know. Suddenly, that person disappears, and she gets even more scared, not knowing what to do. Then, out of nowhere, the house shakes violently, causing her head to hit something and feel dizzy, but she keeps pulling at the door until it opens. She runs to get into another room, but finds herself entering the same room again, as if the house only has that one room. She can't even understand what's happening, and her head is bleeding from the hit. She stays in this state for more than 10 minutes until she runs down the hallway. Suddenly, she falls and finds herself falling down many stairs. In an instant, she finds herself in the basement. As soon as she opens her eyes, she sees a burnt corpse of a woman next to her. She gets scared and continues to scream, trying to control herself. Then she finds a flashlight on the ground, picks it up, and in that moment, she finds a journal. She opens it and discovers that the owner of the house was named Judy, and she had been married to a man 20 years older than her named Elton. The journal says that he always left her alone and didn't care about her, and because she was lonely, she cheated on him. One day, he found her cheating with another man, but he didn't kill her then. Instead, he punished her by saying she would never leave the house again. The journal ends here, and there's nothing else written. Kia then tries to leave the place she's in but hears a sound from outside. The sound turns out to be urine, so she runs to all the windows and knocks on them, but none open. She even tries to break a window with her suitcase, but nothing breaks or opens. Even her voice doesn't make it outside. She continues to scream, but Paul doesn't hear her until he walks away. When she looks at the bookshelf, she sees a very strange-looking bride. She holds it, and suddenly, Kia understands everything that happened. Elton, after he imprisoned Judy, one day decided to escape from him. But on that day, he was digging the ground and putting his bride in the basement. When he saw Judy running away, he caught her and strangled her until she passed out, then took her down to the basement. He grabbed the second bride from the dirt and performed a ritual. He also cursed the house, saying that any woman who enters will die inside it just like Judy. At that moment, Judy's spirit entered the bride, and Elton set her on fire and cut his veins, all as part of the curse of the house. After that, Kia returned and understood why Judy wanted to get her out, but she was confused about how Elton died when he cut his veins. Now, he's alive and keeps coming as if nothing happened. She decides that she will leave no matter the cost, puts on her jacket and shoes, and tries to open any door, but once again, no door opens. At that time, Paul was worried about Kia, so he called a female police officer and they went to the house. When they got there, they found the door open, so they went inside. But as soon as they entered, the door slammed shut behind them. When they went upstairs, Paul saw Kia's phone and the blood on the bed, and he panicked, saying something must have happened to her. They started searching for her in every room, but she was trapped in the room she had entered and couldn't get out. She kept trying to open the door, but unfortunately it was no use. When they reached that room and tried to open the door, they heard a loud sound from downstairs. They rushed out of the room and went downstairs, where they found the door making strange noises. They looked at the door, but something kept pushing them out of the house, and then the door closed on its own. Kia was upstairs screaming for them to hear her, but it was all in vain. The female officer tried to calm Paul down, telling him to go to the police station and tell them everything he knew about Kia. She also mentioned that her car was not there. Paul replied that her phone and the blood on the bed suggested something had happened, but the officer told him that they had to file a report first and then figure out what to do. Meanwhile, Kia was running through the house, trying to escape any way she could. She thought about jumping from the balcony, but when she jumped, she found herself back in the basement, as if she was trapped in a loop. She found a letter on the ground, as well as a box, but before opening it, she heard her phone ringing. She looked at it and answered, but the person calling couldn't hear her. She tried calling her friend, but no one answered. She even called Paul, but he didn't respond. She continued to send messages to everyone, but her phone turned off by itself. Then, part of the window broke, and she tried to open it to break the glass, but she discovered that anything that broke immediately fixed itself. She took out the ring, looked at it, gathered all her strength and courage, and then decided to burn the doll. She opened the bookshelf and went down to the basement. At that moment, Paul arrived again, along with the female officer, after receiving the message Kia sent. When they entered the place where Kia was turned into mirrors, and Paul and the officer saw a figure that looked like Kia coming out of the mirror. They searched for a way to get inside, and the ghost-like figure of Kia began to speak to her, telling her she needed to break the curse by hurting herself and putting 2 drops of blood in the fire while saying certain words. The ghost told her she wouldn't gain anything by burning the doll, and kept whispering to her until she believed it, repeating the words. Kia extended her hands, and the officer managed to enter through the balcony. But when she did, the door slammed shut on her, and she couldn't get through. Kia and the ghost-like figure of Kia were now bleeding from their hands, and suddenly, strange sounds filled the house. The front door opened, and Paul entered, only to see the ghost of Kia in front of him. Kia quickly ran and saw the officer, trying to escape. They all ended up in the living room, where a fierce fight began between Kia and the ghost. Suddenly, Kia grabbed a gun and tried to shoot the ghost, but the ghost was stronger, took the gun from her, killed the officer, shot Paul, and even took the ring from Kia's hand. They kept fighting until Paul was able to resist, grabbed one of them, and strangled her until she passed out. He then carried her in his arms, and they ran out of the house quickly. At that moment, the door slammed shut behind them. Afterward, the girl inside, who turned out to be Kia, awoke, and the ghost who had come out of the mirror remained trapped inside. A few hours later, Kia looked out of the window and saw the police car in front of the house. She realized that the ghost-like figure of Kia was actually Elton's spirit, and that the curse of the house and his sacrifice had a price. Anyone who entered this house would be a sacrifice and lose their life, allowing Elton to live. Kia kept crying, knowing that her time had come. She took the officer's gun and killed herself. At that moment, everything in the house returned to normal, and the same letter that had been posted on the house saying, "Elton's house for daily rent, enjoy the village, welcome," reappeared. And so, our story for today ends. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked the video.